Our guest on AFL.com.au is four-time premiership player Martin Pike. Martin, thanks so much for joining us here today. Wanted to start off by talking about Brent Harvey. It's an amazing achievement, 350 games.
It's phenomenal, isn't it, that in today's age, we know that Dustin Fletcher's going on still, but he's a young man that's still playing the game. I can remember him as a 17, 18-year-old just starting out and picking me up in his old beat-up Commodore. He's probably still got it, he's that tight. But, achievement, I think in today's football we use the word champion too much because when you get to talk about players like Brent Harvey, he's one of the all-time greats of the game.
What's your greatest memory of him as a footballer? He has so much talent and adds so much personality to a football club, doesn't he?
He certainly does. He's a bloke that come to North Melbourne as a real young man, and he hasn't looked like he's aged at all. His pace is still where it was when he was younger, so I think he's still got plenty of football left in him. So around the boys and that, he's always got a smile, always a happy bloke around the change rooms, and you know when you're playing with him, he's going to give 100% effort each week. Only
the 13th player, I believe, to reach 350 games. Do you think he's going to leave a really lasting legacy in the history of Australian Rules football?
Well, he should. 350 games, that's nearly a 20-year career. For a person to be able to play at the top level for that long, I played for 13 and thought I'd done a great job, but for someone going on to 20 years of football, it's not only just the playing side of it, it's the training and to keep your body going at the level where you can compete with young blokes coming through. You don't see too many young blokes running past him with too much pace, so he's a great athlete as well as footballer.
Now, speaking of your 13 years, obviously you can speak with experience on a range of issues. What about North as they sit right now? I mean, you've got a feel for them after these really tight losses they've had so far this season.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? There's probably people out there that could claim that they could have put a couple of numbers behind the ball and shut out the game, but I suppose if Brad's coaching a style of play that gets them 30 points up, he'd be looking at them players taking it to the 60-point margin. They're not trying to defend the game. So if they do it and they keep doing what they're playing like, eventually they're going to beat sides by 10 goals. But at the moment there's a bit of pain because they're playing that style without going too defensive when they get that lead.
Do you think that's the major problem? It's really probably nothing that Brad can do about it. It really is the players on the field that have to step up at that point of the game.
Well, it depends what they're being told. If they're being told to get behind the ball and shut the game out when they're 5 goals up, well, then it's the players. But if Brad's telling them to keep attacking, then Brad might be sending the wrong message out when it gets tight in the last quarter. And unfortunately for them now, they're going to have to play 4 quarters to the final bell because each side's going to come at them when they get a few goals down.
What would you do?
I'd put a couple of players behind the ball, especially once it's happened once or twice. 3 and 4 times, that's getting a bit out of control where there's a couple of games that's probably going to cost them eventually at the end of the year that they could have won and they should have won.
It's funny that I got that sense. Now, what about a couple of your other former clubs? Brisbane Lions at the moment. Vossi had that big win the other week over Essendon. That was a good news story. Would you like to see him get another deal to stay as coach of the Lions?
If they're making inroads to where they want to get, and I think they have. There's a pretty tight competition. There's some very good sides up there, and in today's football it's about the draw. One year you might have a softish draw where you look like you've won more games than you will the following year, but you might have improved the second year, just that your draw is a lot harder than the year before, so it's a tough competition. The game against Essendon was wonderful. If they can compete, keep doing that week after week, they're going to win more games than they lose, and I think people on the outside of the fence can see the improvement.
So what does Vossi have to do, do you reckon, to get an extension of his contract?
I think they have to keep winning, and the games that they shouldn't lose, they shouldn't lose. They have to make the Gabba a fortress again and make it sure that every club that goes up there to the Gabba to play, that they walk away knowing that they're going to lose more often than they're going to win.
And people often forget that you're a Melbourne player as well.
I've done it all, yeah.
You've been everywhere. Yeah. What do you make about what's going on at the Demons now?
It's a sad case, really. How long can you rebuild for? I was a recycled player, and I think there's plenty of good players in the VFL, in SA, WA. You just can't keep taking kids after kids and seeing them fail because there's no experience around. I'd like to see them go out and recruit some 23, 24-year-olds that maybe didn't get picked up when they were 18 but have become very good players within the VFL system or the South Australian comp. And that might give them a bit of time to actually build their club up without getting flogged each week.
Yeah, because that's the problem at the moment, isn't it? It's that perceived lack of effort and everything else that goes with that. The fact that they're coming out and not being able to perform at an AFL standard That's the most alarming thing, isn't it, really?
Well, it is, and they've got two young captains, and you look at that, and I know Wayne Carey captain at 21, but that's Wayne Carey. I don't see that in the two captains they've got. They should be just there playing football without the leadership worries. But if you haven't got many others to choose from, it's a bit of a sorry case. But I think they have to go out and just spend some money on some decent players and just try to get some players to their club that can take them forward and allow the young players to come through and have some good players around them.
And just finally, speaking of Duck, he was suggesting that maybe Dennis Pagan could be Melbourne's solution. You probably heard worse suggestions than that. Could Pagan be a man to come back into coaching? Do you think? I haven't heard if he's interested.
Well, he's probably interested. How old's Dennis now? He's probably 70. There's another bloke sitting in the VFL, Gary Ayres. He's in the same mould. I reckon if he went to the club, you'd toughen him up straight away, and he wouldn't take losing and using it as an excuse that we're rebuilding each week. I think he's a tough enough man to actually be given the job and to change the culture around, because he's been there as a player. He's coached some Adelaide and Geelong. I think he's the right man for Melbourne.
All right, that's a good one. Thanks very much, Pike. You really appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks very much.